With Season 11 nearly ending and only 30 days left, I think it's the best time to do a tier list. Now we will be looking at both pros and cons of the legends and also my opinion, so do take it with a grain of salt. With a lot of changes that have come in the last couple of seasons, let's get straight into it. The first legend in D tier is going to be Rampant. This is because she's mostly useless and by the community considered only played by noobs. But her utility is what throws her down the most. She's really good at maybe holding a rooftop within a zone, but she's really bad at holding buildings. This is because there are better legends out there that do it better, like Caustic. Her ult also makes her movement super slow, which kinda makes her a huge target, even though it is powerful. She requires most of the time to be sat down to do damage, however, legends like Caustic can actually deal damage in many different ways. And that is why she belongs in the D tier. Next, we go Revenant. One of the main reasons why Revenant is actually in the D tier is because he cannot wall bounce. His ult has also been nerfed way too much and his Q is just a nuisance. I feel like a lot of people don't know how to play Revenant. He's best paired with legends like Octane and Ashe, where they're able to push with their ults directly after Rev ulting. However, all of these ults are really loud, so it can be predictable. Next, we got Mirage. I'm kinda sad to put Mirage in the D tier, but he just belongs there. This is because Mirage is a very selfish player and doesn't actually provide anything to his team. Sure, maybe if someone shoots Mirage's Q, they're able to tell where the enemy is, but most of the time people are not going to fall for it, so it's not really useful. His res also allows you to res sneakily, but there are legends that do it better, like Lifeline. He's a very replaceable character, that's why he belongs in the D tier. The first legend in this category is going to be Wattson. I'm sorry to all of those people that admire the French waifu, but she belongs in the C tier, and the reason is because of her kit. Her ult is great, being able to block any nades that are coming through, as well as abilities like Valk's Q. It also stays up for a really long time and it's good. However, she is really bad at pushing someone. Her fences can be good inside, but when pushing someone they kinda become useless, especially when you're going against a Gibby where his bob can break her fences. She's a very fun legend and you can do some amazing things with that, but she belongs in the C tier. Next, we got Crypto, the least played legend for a reason. He's basically a Japanese 12-year-old boy who is stuck on his PC wanting to play League and does not go out to touch grass. His ult is great for pushing people, does loads of damage and stuns people, which is great, and he's also able to provide continuous scans and information for his team to play on. But he has zero movement, and I mean zero. Most Crypto mains try to find a nook and a cranny in the map and hide in there. I feel like he needs a rework, which hopefully it's coming soon. One of his most underrated abilities is being able to grab banners and being able to res through his drone without any delays. Next is one of my favorite characters, Bangalore. Even though I do play her a lot, she still belongs here. This is because a lot of her abilities are kind of weak compared to others. When we look at, for example, her ult, even though it is great, especially for zoning, people like Gibby do it better. You have her smokes, even though they do sound good, there are things that can go against it, like an attachment, like the Digifret, or people like Bloodhound, Seer. So she is in due for a buff, I feel like, but for now she belongs in the C tier. People that are insane and able to master the double time of Bangalore, I'd say they put Bangalore to the B tier. The first B tier legend is going to be Lifeline. The thing with Lifeline is that she's kind of like Mirage. Without her being able to res through her robot, she'd be kinda useless. Her ult, even though it's really good early game and for people that you're respawning back in, it does put a huge target behind your back. Yeah, sure, you may be able to heal with her drone as well as using her drone as somewhat of a makeshift cover. She isn't that great anymore, especially compared to a couple of last seasons where she used to have a res shield. And compared to that, right now, Lifeline is very much weak. Next, we got Horizon, a legend that I've recently been maining. Her Q is actually really good for repositioning and gaining high ground in any situation. And even if you're not taking high ground, you can just go up with her Q, gain information, and being able to heal on the way down. But you gotta be careful when going up with her Q because you can get beamed up. Her ult is really good paired with grenades that can actually turn the tide of a fight. Next, we got Seer. He was a highly picked legend when he first came out, but his pick rate has dropped immensely. His passive allows you to track enemies without even them knowing you, and his Q is great for cancelling reses and heals. However, his Q is kind of weak because you do have to hit someone dead on with it. His ult also feels slightly weak, especially now that people know how to countering it with crouching it or destroying the ability in the middle. Next, we got the goddess of all, the waifu of all, Loba. One of my favorite legends in the game. I wonder why. She's very fun to play and her Q is amazing. Kind of works like a Pathfinder grapple where she's able to reposition in any moment as well as gaining high ground. I feel like her Q being busted at the start when she first came out reduced her pick rate by quite a bit. But she's really good, especially for her team with her ult. Even though she doesn't necessarily have any offensive abilities, she's able to set up her team in order to kill people. Her ult can be really good in late game when you're able to put her ult down and gain stuff like ammo and heals. It does make you a bit vulnerable because there's trails going on with the loot, so people can kind of see where you are. I feel like Loba could have a major buff soon where she's able to pick up banners through her ult. Next, we got everyone's friend Pathfinder. He's a really good legend and in the right hands can actually go up to an A tier legend. This is because of his grapple and being able to basically have movement and repositioning. But it is very hard to master. And that is why I put it in a B tier category, because a really good one can go to the A tier, but normally average is in the B tier. His ult also seems a little bit useless, especially on maps like Stonepoint, which are really big, so his ult doesn't really travel that far, and there are already a lot of zip lines. The last legend in the B section is going to be your Australian fellow matey Fusey. Fuse is actually an amazing legend who is great for your team. Being able to highlight enemies that are within his circle is actually good, and people that actually don't pay attention and get burned can actually die really easily. And his Q is great for poking and pushing people out of certain positionings. He's a legend that can be easily picked and can actually be good when you need a change of pace. The first legend that is going to go in the A tier is going to be Caustic, my fart daddy. He is the best defensive legend. He can use his traps in many different ways to deal damage, to slow down enemies, to block doors, and even use the canister as a makeshift cover. His ult, when done right, is actually a great offensive play as well. In ranked, he may feel very useless at the start, but as zone continues and gets smaller, he actually gets really powerful. Next, we got Octane. He is great and his passive is so fucking good. Even though this get nerfed, and even though his team does chunk him more, which makes him less of an aggressive player, he is still really good because of his passive and his auto regen over time. His ult is also really good for offensive and defensive, and it also only has a cooldown of 90 seconds, which is just great. The last legend that is going to be in the A tier is going to be the newly introduced Ashe. She had a great start since her addition. I don't feel like she is too weak or too powerful. Her ult is actually amazing in terms of pushing a team or actually running away from a team, and I think it actually carries her quite a bit. She is an absolute playmaker. She's really good in a team that knows how to fight, because being able to push together with her ult makes her super viable. But in solo queue, she can be kind of weak because her ult may not be as useful as people don't know how to fight most of the times, which is why she belongs in the A tier. I feel like her Q is also kind of a little bit weak. It does a little bit of damage and chains people to the ground, but it's not enough time to actually make a play on it. Also, her Q does take 2 years to travel to the enemies. And finally, you got the top of the top, the cream of the crap. Wait, actually, I don't think that's the right saying. The first legend that is going to be in the S tier is going to be Bloodhound. And do I really have to explain why? He has hacks. He has scans through walls, okay? Being able to utilize information in a fight is key. His ult is really good because you can just do everything faster. Not only it gives you really good visual feedback and allows you to track enemies easier, but it also reduces the cooldown of his scan, which makes you allowed to just spam scans and gain information every single second of the fight, which is a very key thing. Now I do find that Bloodhound lacks a little bit of movement and can get very still over time, but he is still so fucking good that belongs in the S tier. The next S tier legend that we're going to have is going to be Gibby. His kit is just really good. His passive, the gun shield, just makes him have more health than normal. Imagine having 50 health every single time you are fighting. That is extra. That is just amazing. His Q is also great for being able to res faster, providing safety to the team, as well as being able to reset. Next is a legend that has been out and been S tier since the game has came out. Bold TTV Wraith. She is so good, not only for herself, but as well as a team player. Being able to set a portal that you can take back and forth is great for resets. Her Q also allows her to just get out of oh shit situations, even though it does take 2 years to actually activate. The last legend that we have is Valk, my future waifu. She belongs in the S tier, and that's just because of her movement. Not only because she can ult and reposition anywhere with her team, but also because her jetpacks allows her to just gain high ground at any moment possible. She basically controls the vertical limit of the fight. Now you do kind of have to be careful with her ult, as you can get beamed at very early on, but it is still very good, especially on a map like Stonepoint where it doesn't have many balloons. You just being able to go up and reposition is just key. I think this is pretty much balanced. I don't think there is necessarily too many weak legends. As you can see, most of them are around the B category. What do you think about this tier list? Do you think someone else belongs somewhere else? Comment down below, leave a like, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.